But anyway, as Bernard said, my name is Jonathan Jones. It's my pleasure, my privilege to be the host and moderator for this program. I'm not the expert by any stroke of the imagination. I do a lot of research. My goal is to bring information to the fore that average people like you and me may or may not have access to. I just remember the helpless feeling that I had when intensive care nurse, when I asked her what she was doing for my mom, when she said that she was praying for my mom's immune system to kick in. And I just thought that they were doing a little bit more than that. I'm a firm believer in the power of prayer, don't get me wrong. It was at the moment that it seemed as though the intensive care nurse and the medical system just didn't have an answer for what was going on with my mom. That's when I realized I was in the wrong line of work. So I began to pursue something different. I didn't want to be in that helpless situation ever again, where I didn't have some way to help someone that I cared about. So this month we are talking about National Stroke Awareness. We didn't set that time period up. That's a national thing. It's what the government's doing. So we're talking about stroke right now. We just happen to have something that's very good with helping the immune system do what it does. And it happens to have a very positive impact on whatever happens to be wrong with the body. And Dr. Prasad is the one that's going to help us to appreciate exactly how and why that can be the case. But before we begin, just be aware that the FDA has not evaluated the statements that we're making. What we're saying really is for education and information purposes only. You'll hear testimonials. They're purely anecdotal. Results are atypical. What happens to one person may or may not happen to you. So engage Dr. Prasad, none of the hosts or co-hosts.
We apologize to y'all for the challenges here.
You just gotta love it. So, all right. Once I step out of the way here, this will fix this in a minute. But we want to share a testimonial with you first. So, Jeff, we had a testimony that we wanted to share last week that we didn't get an opportunity to share. So, Jeff, if you're ready to share one of those, that would be helpful right now, because these testimonials really do a good job of helping us to appreciate the value of having nutrients in the body and giving the body the food that it needs to be able to do what it needs to do. So, Jeff, do you would happen to have Patrick's story available? Do you? I saw Jeff pop on.
Yes, I've got it.
Okay. If you could, then that would be great. And while you do that, I'm going to reboot my system here too. And give us the backstory on this, Jeff.
And I just took MMF, but let me tell you what happened before I took MMF. By the time I got here, I was like kind of tired, so I didn't have very much energy. I'm saying all this because, my energy level was low. I had a stroke, and it was a hemorrhagic stroke, and it was the one that, that is what we consider a cash out stroke. I took this medicine, and I'm doing stuff like this hand doesn't work. This whole side of my body is pretty much, what they consider paralyzed. So it doesn't work. And we're talking about it doesn't work and I'm moving everything. That's one thing, but then that's not a big thing. But for me to be able to come over here and grab this and hold it is something that I could not do at all. A couple hours ago. It's not possible for me to do that and then grab and give it back to her. That's something that does not happen. It's not possible in the condition that I'm in. So I'm not sure what else you need to know, but whatever it is that you need to know, the proof is in the pudding, and I'm showing you what the proof is right now. MMF is what it is. It's what it is.
So yeah, let me give you just a little bit of background on there. Last week, you heard about my father's experience with the microdaily that testimony got out, and we ended up meeting Patrick and his father. You saw his father there in the video in the yellow shirt. And his dad and I had to help Patrick get up into our van. And then we started talking about this product. And at that point, we were still calling it military micronutrient formulation, or MMF. And we actually had him open the capsules and dump them under his tongue while we were there in the parking lot explaining the history behind all of this. And so pretty amazing, the results, what changed there in that short hour and a half, 2 hours. In fact, initially his wife Michelle was not part of that, and he asked if he could call her and invite her over to meet us all there in a parking lot, to where he was able to share what he did by reaching over and grabbing that box. So pretty amazing how in just that brief hour and a half, almost 2 hours, his body was able to take the nutrition and start correcting some of those neural pathways, or whatever it is that allowed him to begin moving parts of his body that were unmovable before that. So, Jonathan, hopefully we've got you back here with us, and I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Prasad. You're muted, and so if you want to unmute, there you go.
No, I was what kind of a stroke he had? That, as you know,
Hemorrhagic. He had a
Huh?
hemorrhagic.
Yeah, hemorrhagic brain. The distinction between hemorrhagic or ischemic heart is that ischemic heart is your blood vessel blocks, and the brain is not getting enough oxygen. And hemorrhagic one, what happens? The blood vessel inside your brain breaks up for high blood pressure or for many regions, and that's called a hemorrhagic stroke. But the result is the same. And you have extensive, as soon as it happens, you have extensive release of free radicals generation, and that induces inflammation, and then they start killing all those nerve cells, and then you have this paralysis. And so by providing the micronutrient, like you saw that, that prevented any further damage and gave a chance to brain to recover. But anyway, that's very interesting story, but it is also explained because our product Micro Daily, even the original one that he was taking, has the same, we have tested it, it has a powerful antioxidant and inflammatory effect. And these two are the main culprits of in the stroke, which causes damage so extensively that you get paralyzed one side or both sides sometimes.
Pretty amazing. And, we had shared last week, Dr. Prasad, that my father experienced both of those. One of them started out just as a blocked artery, and then they tried to correct it. And in the process of correcting it, they burst and turned it into a whole brain bleed, is what they called it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that is ischemic stroke. Yeah. Because once the blood vessel get damage in your heart, the brain can't get oxygen.
Yeah.
And then creates a lot of extensive damage to the brain by generating free radical and inflammation.
Yeah.
So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about this, Dr. Prasad. How is it that Patrick's situation, though, Jeff, was some 2 years prior that he'd had this hemorrhagic stroke, right?
It was a year earlier. So
a year earlier. So the damage was done, Dr. Prasad.
The blood clot blockage occurred a year earlier, and so he had to suffer a stroke, right? And then he didn't do anything for 1 year, and then, but the thing is that the process of the oxidative stress never stops. The more damage you occurs, the more serious additional free radicals and inflammation are produced. So it was a gradual process. And then when you intervene, then it gets, okay, now you can't do any more damage. And by doing so, you created an environment the cell can regenerate to certain extent.
Pretty amazing what Jonathan has up there on the screen with those two different types of
two different types. One is called hemorrhagic, that we mentioned. The other guy is where the rupture occurs inside the brain, and in this case, the rupture occurs outside the brain. In other words, the heart, for example, in heart blood vessels, in this case, they blocked it, and so now they can't have any oxygen, and that causes a stroke. Yeah. And as you know, we will discuss that there are many other factors, risk factors are there.
It's amazing. It's just seeing what Jonathan has up there on the screen. Yeah. You know, back in 2020, 1 in 6 deaths were from cardiovascular disease. That's crazy. 1 in 6. Man, every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a stroke. Every 3.5 minutes, someone dies of a stroke.
Yep.
And you think we really need to get this information out there, because, like you stated, it's a combination of inflammation that has been brought on by oxidation and years worth of stress, whether that's elevated blood pressure.
Stress is one of the major factor contributing, and of course age is also a factor. And so I think, you know, there's a lot of external factor is there. Pollution, you know, if you take a lot of bad polluted air, smoke, that can increase. Smoking can increase diabetes, disease especially, can increase the risk of stroke. And so anything which affects the blood vessels. For example, high cholesterol. Well, high cholesterol, for example, HDL high is very good for you. But it's the LDL cholesterol which is bad for you. Why? Because LDL cholesterol easily get oxidized by free radicals, and they gets clumped, and they then tendency start slowly blocking the blood vessels. And so if you are taking a micronutrient, then your LDL could be high, but it can get oxidized, and then you have reduced risk of blocking of the artery. So it is very, if you look the biology, it is a very simple strategy that I don't know why people, you know, we always recommend take a good diet, but as you know, nobody follows the good diet. And but as much as you can, you should follow it. But in addition to that, you have to have a sufficient amount of antioxidant in your body to prevent these kind of changes in your blood vessels, because this is related to the blood vessel disease, actually.
Yeah. I'm wondering if Jonathan could stop his screen share for a moment. Last week, Dr. Prasad, we watched a video of Anita and her experience that was 10 years after the fact.
Uh-huh.
And so it'd be interesting to get some of your comments there. If Jonathan, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to just remove the 2 spotlights here.
One second here, Jeff. Let me ask one more question with Dr. Prasad while he's on the same subject, because that was really kind of the heart and soul of this discussion, no pun intended. But Dr. Prasad, tell us a little bit more there. You just mentioned the connection between heart disease and stroke. It seems as though stroke and heart disease are interrelated. There's got to be a connection between the two of those. Why is it that a person who has heart problems is at a higher risk of having a stroke, and vice versa?
Because this what do you call, the artery gets blocked. If you are not taking care of your heart, the artery will get blocked, and blocking the artery can induce stroke because they will not provide oxygen. And one of the reasons, there are many reasons for blockage of the artery. One of the major reasons is that your LDL cholesterol is high, and they get easily oxidizable. Also, And so it is important to reduce the oxidative stress in your body. And one way you can do it taking the micronutrient supplement.
Well, and I think people need to understand this, Dr. Prasad. So if I have a history of heart problems, I'm at greater risk of having a stroke.
Right.
So I've got to manage that. I need to keep that under control.
Right,
And even if
right.
I don't have a history of heart disease, I should be focusing in on having a healthy heart.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So I stay out of the conversation.
So I think, to maintain a healthy heart, you have to a good diet, less fat is very important for making your heart healthy. And not much red meat. You can have fish, but plant-based diet is very important with fish. And those who want to eat fish, but reduce the intake of any kind of fatty food. And of course, we are telling you forever, but you go to McDonald's, you have a line to buy
Well, it's
that.
everywhere.
But anyway, once in a while, you can enjoy McDonald's or the In-N-Out burger that I go once in a couple of months. But
Yeah, but it's the
but
easiest
once in a
thing,
while,
so-
not every day.
Mhm.
Not only hamburger or anything like that, but any kind of even in your own food at home when you make it.
That's
Don't
right.
make
That's
fatty
right.
food.
That's
And
right.
so-
Well, Jeff, if you would
together
bring that other story up, Jeff, that would be very helpful. Let's hear about Anita, because Dr. Prasad, we want to hear your comments on this. There's a lot of folks that are here now that never even heard of last week's discussions, none of these testimonies at all. Anita's story is amazing because she was 10 years after the fact
Mhm.
introduced to micronutrients, and I think folks need to get an
Sure.
eyeful of this.
Mhm.
Okay, so here we are with Anita, and she calls it MMF as well, military micronutrient formulation, which is what we were calling it at that point.
And let's see, December 18th of 04, I had an ischemic stroke in the left thalamus of the brain. It's a rare place to have a stroke. It's not a very good place to have a stroke. I came home in a wheelchair. They said I would never walk again. And I was determined that I was going to do that. So anyhow, I did all the stuff that we do, all the therapies, did it for years. Got to a certain point, but the problem with the stroke being in the left thalamus is several. First of all, I had neuropathy on one half of my body. So it started with my whole head, eyes, ears, neck, all the way down, just cutting right in hand, foot. And that's just terrible. All you ever feel is neuropathy, the cutting, the burning, the stabbing, and then that's your life. And they give you drugs, but it doesn't ever make it go away. It never stops. I could never wear sandals. I always had to have something thick on my foot because it hurt. The other thing that happened to me, my short-term memory loss, which was so frustrating, being it was in the left thalamus, just destroyed the short-term memory. Never had a hope of that ever coming back. I could never remember anybody's names. I couldn't, I went anywhere in the car. If I had to go the next day, doctor's appointment, wherever you go to, I had no idea where to go or where I was or what part of town I was in. That's how bad it was. I would go to any restaurant, any place, and I would always walk out of the bathroom and I could never figure out how to get back to my table. That's how short my memory was. So I struggled with that for 10 and a half years. And then I got on this in June, a year ago in June, and I started taking it, and the pain was a little bit less. After about 5 months, I thought, I'm going to try cutting back on some of the drugs, just see what happens, right? I was on amitriptyline, baclofen, Zolpor, Lyrica, and meloxicam. And before MMF, I couldn't probably tell you one of those names because I couldn't remember. But so I started weaning off after about 5 months on it. and just kept trying, and I was like, doggone it. I didn't feel any worse pain by weaning off, but I was starting to feel better. I wasn't so tired. And then, brain fog started going away. I mean, relatively, it's still there. I know, they know me. I know, still there, but not as bad. You didn't know me before. So it's a lot less. I now can remember which way to come out of the bathroom and come back to my room. So all of those things. She drove herself here. Yes. And then all of a sudden too, I'll just tell you real quick, even 3 months ago, my hand uncurled for the first time in 11 and a half years. Did you? Yeah. Do you remember? Yeah, I do. This pinky was always like this. This was always giving everybody the finger, and it was really strange. And all of a sudden, that just uncurled. Another thing, when you have a stroke, you really can never do a lunge. You just can't do that because your whole side goes like this. So all of a sudden, I'm able to do that kind of thing. So, anyhow, that's it.
So just really amazing to go back and relive some of those experiences with Anita, with my dad, what he went through with Patrick. I've got other videos, but I'm wondering if we've got anybody that is, Jonathan, are you at a point where you want to take back over, or do we still got issues with some of your technology there?
That's amazing. She's young, right? She looks like young.
Yes.
And that's amazing how a young brain, even after you say 10 years, 10 years after the stroke can recover. I don't think I would have predicted it. But knowing, now I have to say that the young brain has a great degree of plasticity. And as you know, normal neuron get lost if you don't take anything, do anything. Every 10 years, you lose 1%, 2%. And by the age of 65, when the symptom of disease, neurological disease appears like Alzheimer or Parkinson, 70% of neuron is gone. So you can operate very effectively only up to 30 to 40% neuron. But had you started earlier taking micronutrient, well, maybe it would have been only, say, 20% death, But in any case, so younger brain has a degree of plasticity. So there were, despite of the damage not occur quickly all cell of the neuron, otherwise you will be dead. So occur slowly, gradually, damage occurs. So still in her case, there was enough neuron preserved as yet. So when the further damage blocked it, then neurons start functioning. This is very important, that oxidative stress, if she would not have done it, it would have been a progressive, like she was feeling it, a progressive decline in bodily functions, mental function as well. But since she was a younger person, then therefore they recover relatively quicker, and there were enough neurons still left that they can function it once these toxic chemicals and create an environment of the brain where they can regenerate and function again. So I think this was very, very interesting. I wish there was some kind of a doctor cooperation to report that kind of events as a case report. One case report, in a case, there is a special journal called Case Report Clinical Journal. There you can produce the effect of any kind of medication on one patient. Wow. As long as doctor is involved and detail is provided by the doctor. And so I'm trying to, I know everybody's trying their best, but I have not been able to get even one on any disease, whether it is diabetes or Alzheimer or cancer or anything.
We'll get some of those. That's going to be our focus over this next few weeks.
Yeah, in other words, doctor has to be involved in this case because the result is so dramatic. Doctor will be very happy. to participate in it, but they have to know it.
Yes.
But anyway, I mean, that's a besides point. But what I'm saying that, because my knowledge was not as good before, say 10 years ago, I would not have predicted it. But now what I know it, now what I know what happens in a stroke, oh, this is not surprising. This is what our product is supposed to do it. But actually supposed to do is one thing and actually doing it another thing.
Well, it's amazing that we have here an opportunity to just listen to even how your thinking has evolved, to your understanding
Yes,
of
yes.
what the body is capable of when you add the right nutrition, when you add all of that together. Both of these individuals that I've shared with you, these testimonials were back when we only had the military.
EMF. Yeah.
Yes,
And because as you know that in all diseases, including heart disease, you have a major problem of a intestinal dysbiosis. And that was corrected at that time. But still, it has produced some excellent results. And combination would have been a quicker, better,
Yeah. Knowing what we have available to us today here with that healthy gut. This is part of our science booklet, and it says a healthy gut allows maximum absorption of the micronutrients.
That's right. That's good.
These are some of the things that you have pioneered, that you've realized, and then provided for us the very next most important supplement, and that is supplementing the probiotic with prebiotic.
Next important after micronutrient EMF, next important is probiotics, especially for older individuals, 40 years and older.
So as we're talking about strokes and improving the outcome and the connection that it has with the heart, I think it's also important, Dr. Prasad, that we go on to the omega-3.
Of course, omega-3, we know now, especially the EPA part of the omega-3 is extremely important for heart health, and because it also helps the blood vessels to remain intact, and of course, it also participates in reducing oxidative stress and inflammation by genetically way rather than directly. So it has, in combination with microdili, it can be more effective, take care of many, because there are many more free radicals are produced, not just only one. When we say oxidative stress is one word, but it constitutes at least 15, 20 different types of free radicals, and they have a different affinity with individual micronutrient. And omega-3 is another very, very important component in maintaining a healthy heart by reducing oxidative stress and provide the precursor, because as you know, the brain has a highly membranous structure. 40% of fatty acid makes the membrane. Membrane is nothing but a fatty substance. But membrane is very important for brain function. And 40% of fatty acid in the brain is DHA, which is one of the components of omega-3. So omega-3 is extremely important, not only for brain function, but also for the heart function, because it also protects heart against free radical damage, oxidative stress, and many other agents that we don't know. But it has been a lot of study done on omega-3 and heart health.
Well, if you notice right here out of our science booklet, the first two benefits here, it says omega-3 daily promotes healthy heart and brain health. And those are both things that are connected to our discussion here on stroke.
Exactly. Yeah. So it is very important, not only this, and omega-3 fatty acid is very important. And also don't forget, collagen peptide doesn't look like it has a role in anything. But collagen is present in every organ in the body, including in the blood vessels, and keep everything structurally intact. But when it loses it, then heart start functioning, shrinking, brain start a little bit shrinking. And when that happens, even 5% or 10% or 1%, then they cannot perform enough function. They cannot send the blood supply. If heart is not pumping enough within normal rate, it cannot provide sufficient amount of oxygen or blood into the brain. And that's why EPA does. EPA is one of the component of omega-3. And so if you take our omega-3, we'll also get a good amount of EPA. And so it does protect both heart and brain, like Jeff was saying. And so I think, if you know the science, what is going on, it makes easy sense to follow it. But sometimes you don't know when you develop this kind of product based on scientific data. But when you start seeing this kind of result, then you say, whatever you thought or whatever the literature says, that's correct. But it's difficult to convince the people. Suppose if you have heart disease, doctor will give you one. If you suppose if you have blockage, they will give you a medication which will dilute the blockage or break up the blockage. But doesn't do anything else to the intestine, doesn't do anything to heart, it doesn't do anything to other part of the brain. You see what I mean? So it is effective some, but not optimal effective. Sure, when you make a medication, the block will be released. If it's too much block, it won't be released. But if it's a smaller one, it might be released. So I think it is very important. And one of the hardest studies that we did, as you know, on firefighter with Jeffrey Boone. Firefighter is a very high risk of heart disease, a stroke, these kind of things. Even younger people suffer. So we ran a study, and at that time, it was only MMF, nothing else. No. And this fellow nobody has heart disease. Population was average. Our recruitment was 35 years age, the firefighter. So they were kind of younger people. And so one group got these simvastatin, which is an old statin drug, reduces your cholesterol level, because doctor thinks that's the only part. It is important. It is very important, but not the only part. And another group got just micro daily EMF, MMF, not EMF, MMF, the original micro daily MMF, military micronutrient formulation. That's only he got twice, 2 capsules morning, 2 in the evening. And then he measured the thickness of the carotid artery, whether there is a clot formation or not, and also lipid profile like cholesterol low and LDL, HDL, and total cholesterol. And they compare with the statin drug or like a Lipitor versus the micro daily versus the EMF, MMF, military micronutrient formulation, the old micro daily. And after 1 year, they found, and he was measuring by ultrasound the thickness of carotid artery and see how much clot has formed. And what they found after 1 year, that those people who were on a Lipitor has a very good cholesterol, improved lipid profile, low cholesterol, low everything nicely. But carotid artery plaque was still gradually forming. And I had a picture, he had drawn a picture to show me. And EMF is as good in a lipid profile as Lipitor. So Dr. Boone, who was the cardiologist of NFL player in Denver, he started calling that original micro daily is a poor man's Lipitor because it did the same thing as the Lipitor did. Plus, there was no formation of clot in the carotid artery. This is the artery that supplies blood to your head. And so that was amazing. That I never expected. And so you can see that how it can prevent blocking your artery that supply brain to if you're on a micro daily. Again, he's too busy. Physicians generally are not very interested in publishing anything. This was so important data. I asked him that why don't you provide me some of the data, but he said, yeah, I will provide it, but never got one.
So I'm showing here on the screen the human clinical trials, Dr. Prasad. This is right out of our science booklet. And it says improvement in lipid status and regression of carotid artery thickness.
Yes.
So that's right to
Yeah, that's the study. We call it the Maverick. I don't know. Dr. Boone named the Maverick trial. A Maverick trial, they call it. We call it. Someday I might publish it, but I have to bug him again.
Well, this is amazing that you've given us a little bit more insight into what's actually going on here in the last few minutes. I feel impressed. We've talked about older individuals that have had heart issues, and it's been quite a while. But if you remember Zynthia, Dr. Prasad, where
Yeah.
Shannon put together
Yes, very well.
this booklet. I'm gonna just play the little flip book
Sure.
that Cynthia's mom Shannon put together and then presented to you. And I think that's important because here we have this little young lady. I think she's probably 5 or 6 years old at this point, and she's had 5 open heart surgeries. She's been life flighted this many times. There's a lot of things that have gone on.
Any genetic disease she had, right?
Yeah, just by introducing the microdaily into her feeding tube. That was the only way that she was able to get it, is through a feeding tube. So why don't we take about 3 minutes and
Sure.
go through
That's a
Cynthia's.
very good one, yeah.
Yeah, because this would be another one that kind of
And she's still doing very well.
oh, she's amazing how well she is doing. Just see where I've got it just came to my mind. So let me do this. Dr. Prasad, I'll just remove the spotlight so people can see it full
Sure.
screen. Here's Cynthia's story. For those of you that can't see your screen, it says 39 hospitalizations. And it's just pictures of this still young girl. "18 life flights, 44 ambulance rides,
Five
5 heart surgeries, pacemaker, 129 scans and x-rays, 72 EKGs, 29 echoes, countless IVs, 23 inches of scars. This time we were looking at another heart surgery.
I met her in a Jeff.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that fun, Dr. Prasad? You remember
Yeah.
those times?
When we go meet in September, maybe you can convey her mother. I'd like to see her again.
Let's do that. Let's do that because
Yeah.
you got to meet her there at the office and then also at Zermont.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, well, let's do that again.
September
Amazing.
13th, yeah.
Yeah, where by just adding the MMF or microdaily to her feeding tube, her little body was able to grow 5 inches and gain 8 pounds in that period of time. Just amazing.
Like to
So,
know what she's doing
yeah.
today.
Yeah,
That's,
she's doing great. In fact, I think she is even walking on her own, but that was a few years back. So
yeah, I know. But now, maybe she's going high school. I mean, not cook somewhere. Who knows?
well, I'll reach out to Shannon and we'll
Yeah,
do.
reach out, Shannon, tell her that we invite her to come there.
Alrighty, so I know Jonathan's still having some difficulties. I'm going to see if Bernard has been watching the chat for any questions. Here we've just got about 10 minutes left,
Oh,
and
yeah.
let's see if we can do that.
Hey, thank you so much, Jeffrey. Questions are a very, very big part of this because everyone want to know about how to take the product. So let me start out with Dr. Picola. She has a very interesting question. She says, my mother and grandmother had strokes. Do you recommend a therapeutic dose for me? And one thing about these calls is a lot of people are going to ask you, what is the regular dose versus the therapeutic dose? And of course, you can enlighten us on that.
Yeah, I mean, for therapeutic dose is only for cancer. I think her mother should continue the core 4 that we have, plus digestive enzyme. And if you have a sleeping problem, then of course, sleeping boost that we have. That's an amazing result. People who have never slept and they take the sleeping boost and they sleep like a baby. And so, no, I would not suggest to take a therapeutic dose because that is only reserved for cancer.
And
For a short term, if somebody has anything for a few days, that will be okay, but not a long term.
And Dr. Prasad, perhaps is just for the sake of there's a lot of new people on here. Some people are looking at the hydro, which is the new one, which is the powder. And of course, this MMF that you were talking about was the original, the one in the green bottle. So perhaps one of the questions was with that little girl that you had, they want to know exactly what was she taking to get those wonderful results she got.
Yeah, but they were taking microdaily, which is the same as EMF. We have added only 2 modifications we have done, which was a good one. First, in the original MMF, folic acid was there. And folic acid is not good because it does not get if you have some kind of mutation, then it can get converted to folate. And then you have a problem of accumulating folic acid, and that can increase the heart risk. So we have changed to the methylfolate, methylated form that body uses it. Then another thing in original formula was cyanocobalamin. Cyanocobalamin was synthetic one. And cyanide was a component. So some people were concerned that, maybe cyanide could be toxic, but that's not true. Almost all clinical study was done without any harmful effect of cyanocobalamin. But psychologically, we said, okay, we will change the methylated form of B12 as well. So now we have a methylated cobalamin. That's one formula. So that's one change in original one. Then the issue upon came the microdaily EMF radiation protection. And then I look for the literature. They provide antioxidant, but they especially tested resveratrol, curcumin, quercetin, and green tea extract against the EMF radiation, and they found protection. So I said, well, it is harmless. It is just the antioxidant. Actually, this can improve the effectiveness of a original microdaily, and therefore we added it. Again, these are all non-toxic, and it's very important. Resveratrol, as you know, is curcumin, very most powerful antioxidant, and and anti-inflammation agents, more powerful than vitamin A or C. And second, resveratrol can also increase the formation of new mitochondria, which is the one which generates energy for you. So that's very good. So those are the difference by adding a 4 ingredient in the original micro daily formula. That's the only difference we have from the original micro daily MMF and EMF today.
Excellent, excellent. You know, Dr. Prasad, I think everybody here on here, there's some things he mentioned here that you need to know. First of all, can our product be taken with medication? He brought out the point that, and Jeff, you could chime in on this. He brought out the point they were natural. Now, we don't tell people stop taking their medication. We refer to people, talk to your doctor. Yeah. But this is the food, micro daily is the food
it's a kind
that
of
has been left out of food.
Yeah, it has no interaction. Any kind of medication you take, there's no adverse effect. And that's the one reason why we did not order many products you see in the marketplace. They have all kind of herbal product. And herbal product does not produce any unique effect that cannot be produced by our product. So why to add additional just to look like it has herbal product, you know?
Now, if you look on the screen, and I think it's very important for everyone to recognize this, is that your products, people don't have to take a lot of additional vitamins and minerals and all, because you put together the perfect combination that the average person to actually come along. Of course, you mentioned the point about probiotic. You have to have probiotic when you first begin, because the gut is where all your sicknesses start. Exactly. And your gut is being prepared to take in all these micronutrients. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so the core 4, and I know we only have 5 minutes, and somebody asked, what do you recommend for the person who's on med for diabetics and high blood pressure? And I think they're going to see this in this. Why do you recommend this core 4 in brief? And by the way, you can see exactly how to take it, but why do you recommend this core 4 as being the perfect package for individuals that are going through these complicated things today?
Any kind of thing. First, the answer is simple. Micro daily EMF will reduce oxidative stress and inflammation. That's well known. If you take probiotics, that will make your healthy gut, because if you don't, the intestinal biosis is there and it will produce toxic chemical that is long-term. Almost all diseases is directly linked with the intestinal biosis. So you have to correct it at the same time. See, we are the first one who have taken this approach, that all the internal stressor, like increased oxidative stress, inflammation, intestinal dysbiosis, loss of function, loss of microdaily, these occurs in almost all disease at a varying level. So until you address all these things at the same time, you are not going to feel healthy. If you have any kind of health issue, you are not going to improve as well. If you just take one, sure, microdaily enough will help you some, no question about it, and you saw it. But if you are taking all core 4, it would have been a quicker, prolonged, and better outcome.
You know, Dr. Prasad, I have to say that the company Engage Global is outstanding. Let me tell you why they're outstanding. When we first started out, we know the original, all of these products together would have cost you $360-something. But after a lot of extensive discussion, what the company did, they wanted to make these products available for everyone. So they gave them 25% off, and that brought it down to $237 a month, which was, to me, for a person that's going through diabetic or going through strokes or whatever, this is like very cheap for that.
Exactly.
But then they shocked us by giving them an extra $34 off, and now people can actually get back healthy for roughly a little bit over $200 a month. And now this month they had something special going. When you get this, they're going to even give you a free gummy, which is really the micro daily gummies are incredible. So maybe tell us a little bit about a little bit more about why this is such a great deal. And you have been, I'm telling you, have been so amazing to come on Sundays. What closing comments would you give people to say why everybody on this call should make sure that everyone they love should be on these products.
Yeah, because then you will maintain your health, family will be healthy. And if there is a kid, for example, if they take gummy, they will perform better in the school. They will have less, because their immune system will be good. They will be less get sick from bacterial or viral infection. And so for the whole family, if you take it, you maintain a healthy, not for 1 or 2 days, to quality of life will remain good throughout your aging process. All of us will age eventually. What I want to do, that when I'm aging, you maintain a good quality life, no disease, no sickness, and we try our best. And I'm good example. I mean, I'm following this kind of principle. Not only I'm telling you by myself, but still, 89-year-old, and I'm functional. I want you to as good or better than me when you are 89.
Well, Dr. Prasad, I mean, you're almost 90 years old, and I say 90 years young because I've never seen anyone close to your age that's actually as active in all of you. I had the privilege of getting together with you when we were down in Mexico. I can't wait to get together with you in Provo, Utah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to really, and so this will be fun. One long time ago, one time Jeff and I, we were in a German. It's a beautiful place, and I think all of you will enjoy German, and make sure you come there. And I will be personally happy to meet each of you there. I'm sure many of you I have met it, but not everybody. And that would be some other additional things that the company might give you free or whatever they do it. That I have no role.
Yeah, they're giving out, but since you've been so good to us, the company is spreading the love by making sure that we get extra things every month. We get something different to help us to get the word out here. That Engage Global is not a store shelf product. It is a product that actually works, and people are getting phenomenal results. And Dr. Prasad, we cannot express how much love we have for you. To be one of the first ones I've ever seen that's not concentrated on the money aspect, which is good, you make some dollars to pay bills, but just the point that you have dedicated your life to actually battling some of the diseases horribly affecting people today and having a better outcome. Jeff, do you have anything in closing? Because it's the top of the hour to end this call.
Yes, in fact, what I was going to do is just invite everybody else out for next Sunday. Next Sunday is, believe it or not, my birthday, and we are going to be here doing this. So May 26th, next Sunday, is our opportunity to share stories, because everyone has a story.
Them stories, Jeff, are just amazing. Dr. Prasad just loves stories.
I do.
I know you do. So there you have it, people. Come back next week.